So namaste. My name is Pranav, and I live with my family, my wife, and two wonderful kids in Boulder, Colorado. And I had a career, but last 3-4 years I've been really working hard on Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. Where the motive force is, I'm still trying to figure out where it is coming from. But the objective always was to tell a story from Bhagavad Gita that is told from an Advaitic standpoint and that connects the whole text together. We'll first start with the prayer chant and we'll go from there. This is from Yajurveda, and this is capturing the perfect spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue or a conversation between a teacher and a student, and this from Krishna Yajurveda is a dialogue between a teacher and a student. Om Sehna Vavatu Sehnau Bhunaktu Seviryam Karvavahe Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. May He protect us both. May He nourish us both. May we move together. May our work together, our study together be fruitful. May we not complain. May we rise up together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, we'll start with Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Vedanta. So, Bhagavad Gita is the storytelling of Upanishads, a philosophy of Upanishads. In fact, Bhagavad Gita also has an unofficial status of an Upanishad. Now, what are Upanishads? The Vedas are big corpus of texts, and Upanishads are usually the last portion of Vedas. And they contain the highest teaching, the highest wisdom from the Upanishads. And Vedanta, Veda plus Anta, means end of Vedas. And that means that Vedanta is the philosophy of Upanishads. It's something that is underappreciated, but whenever we talk about Bhagavad Gita, we're always talking about Upanishads and the Vedanta. Let me repeat it again. Whenever we talk about Bhagavad Gita, we're talking about Upanishads and the philosophy of Vedanta. Now, the specific philosophical framework that we will use is Adi Shankaracharya's Advaita Vedanta. Now, what is Advaita Vedanta? Advaita, non-dual. Non-dual as in one, not two. So, what is two? Two is basically this idea of duality. Duality as in me, separate from all of you. That's two. We look at the world in multiplicity, but we can think of them as two. A separation between me and everyone else. So Advaita, one not two, means, well, the two is actually an illusion. The one is the truth. And through our storytelling, that's what we'll discover what that one is. Now, Gita covers a big range and a depth. Philosophy, psychology, religion, morals, ethics. It's also a poetic and lit masterpiece. But most importantly, Gita is a text of liberation. Another heavy word I just used, we'll see what that is. But it is called a Moksha Shastra. Moksha Shastra is the one that would deliver you from sufferings, basically, and make you enlightened and free you forever. There is a big question that the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is, which is on that chart over there. Who am I? At a fundamental level, the question of who am I is a question of identity. And any question we might have in our life is actually a derivative question of who am I? What am I? What am I doing? What is my duty? What is meaningful, purposeful work? Why is there hurt, pain, suffering? What is peace? What is love? What is fear? And how do I become fearless? What is knowledge? What is soul? And what is death? Grief. What is the nature of this world we are in? What is our belonging in this world? And why is there a conflict, seemingly a conflict between us and the world? What is God? What is its nature? And then is there an ultimate truth, a param satya? Krishna calls it an open secret many, many times in Bhagavad Gita. I counted 15 times. It's an open secret, he says. An open secret leads us to that question, who am I? And the promise that is made to us in the text is, knowing that the answer to the question, who am I, will lead to eternal peace and end of all our sorrows. It promises us that we'll be free and fearless. What I just read, a long list of questions, is really the dialogue of Krishna and Arjun. These are all the things that Bhagavad Gita speaks about. And these are all our questions too, for many, many thousands of years. Now, Gita describes a one-player game. Most games in the world are designed as at least the two teams. There's a competition, us versus them. There's a winner and there's a loser. But Bhagavad Gita looks at it as not as an us versus them game. This one-player game is us versus us. There's no two in this game. There's only us. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, that is a very important frame to have. It's always going to be Arjun's perspective. It's always going to be Pranav's perspective. And before I go further, let me do a little context setting of what's happening, the setting of Bhagavad Gita. So if you're from India, you know this very well. A war is happening. A war of Mahabharata between two sets of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And the war is over usual things: fame, money, power, kingdom. Same things that are happening around the world today also. Nothing has changed. The Kauravas are 100 brothers and Pandavas are 5. And Arjun is one of the Pandavas. And he's a very skillful warrior, very brave. And, Mahabharata has plenty of stories about his virtues and his bravery, And Krishna, in this war, is Arjun's charioteer. Now the scene opens up that war is about to start. The two armies, Kauravas on one side and Pandavas on the other side, are lined up. The war cry has been sounded. Bugles, trumpets, conches, dramatic setting. And the weapons are about to be drawn. In that moment, Arjun asks Krishna, Krishna, take me to the middle of both the armies. And he says, I want to see who I'm fighting. And Kauravas and Pandavas are both related to each other, they're cousins and they're teachers on both sides. And Krishna beautifully takes the chariot to the middle of the neutral zone. And there, Arjun sees his brothers on both sides, his relatives, his teachers, his friends. And mind you, this Arjun is a very brave character. He's a good boy, but a brave character also. And when he sees all these people around him, his own people on both sides, he starts having a mental breakdown. I'll be reading some verses from Gita, so I'll be using these notes here. So Arjun has a mental breakdown. These are verses 1.29 to 1.31, chapter 1. Arjun says to Krishna, "My limbs shake and my mouth is drying. My body trembles too and my hair stands in excitement. My bow, the Gandiv, this one here, it slips from my hands. My skin burns. I'm not steady. My mind whirls." And then he starts imagining things. He says, "I see adverse omens. I don't see any good coming out of fighting this war. Let's pack up." He cannot summon the will to fight. And then he sits down in his chariot and put his weapons down. And he's overwhelmed. And then in a dramatic verse 2.19, he tells Krishna, "Krishna, I will not fight." And then he comes clean. He says, confesses, he says, "I'm besieged by fear, Krishna. I ask you what my dharma is. I'm your student, teach me." At that moment, when Arjuna is surrendered to Krishna, that is when Gita starts. Now, this Arjun who's having this big mental breakdown in the middle of war, it can really be any one of us. Yes, we are not fighting any big wars out there. But the questions that I outlined earlier are the same questions that all of us have at different points in our life. So while this is Arjun, this dog here, this could be any one of us. This is my caricature, if you're wondering. So we are all Arjuns. I call this the doing person. In Sanskrit, karta. The doing person. This body. Its identity and its makeup is this body. This is Pranav. This is my name. I have an age. I have a height. I have a weight, a gender, body type, complexion. All of us. And we also have a role to play in the society, a job, family, relationships, all of those things. And this body is made up of like flesh, bones, tissues, 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. All of us are this unique arrangement of these 5 elements. And the interesting thing about this body is that it creates that separation, that duality between me and all of you. I'm here, you are here. Separation. And this doing person is seen by all. You can all see me. I can see you all. The question of how do I look is here in the doing person. All our vanities, our insecurities about our body are all in here. I also like to think of this doing person as a mask that we're walking with in this world, identified by a name. This doing person also has a personality, movement type, energy expression, posture, gesturing. a voice cadence, and so on and so forth. And the unique thing about this doing person is that it changes. We're born infants, toddlers, teens, young adults hit a peak. And then you start declining. And one day there's time to go. The artwork over there, back there, called the soul cycle, that describes this journey of this doing person. But Gita is actually at heart a very optimistic text. As we go through the text, we'll find like it inspires us, it uplifts us, and say, no, that is not the whole story either. So this is the doing person. Now, from Gita's perspective, this doing person has only one sole objective, purpose: action, karma. Why action? In 3.5, Krishna says it's impossible to be without action. We think we may not be acting, but we're always acting. Through our physical body, thoughts, speech, all of that is action. And why is action so important? Because these small actions compound. They compound into habits and behaviors. And what is action then from Gita's perspective? Karma. They are not these big projects we build in the world outside, a job we get, whatever big ambitions, dreams we might have. From Gita's perspective, Krishna is more interested in micro actions that compound. So, he says in 5.8, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, walking, sleeping, breathing, letting go, holding, opening eyes, closing the eyes. They're all actions. Speech, thought, that's all action. In a very famous verse 2.54, Sthit Pragyasya Ka Bhasha, Arjun asks Krishna, the wise person, the one in steady wisdom, how do they sit? How do they walk? How do they talk? All actions. Dharma, the idea of duty, that's all here for the doing person. There's this super hit movie right now in India, Dhurandhar. If you're from India, you might have heard of it. The movie actually opens up with this verse from Bhagavad Gita. It's 2.37, it's from Dharma. When Arjun is ready to run away, Krishna is counseling him, stay the course, don't run away. And he says to Arjun, if you die, you'll get heaven. If you win, you'll enjoy this vast earth. So rise up, Arjun, resolve to fight this war. So the movie opens up with this quote. Dharma, duty. Finally, this person is for karma and action, but how to do that karma and action properly is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is spiritualizing action. Another very famous verse from Gita 2.47, Karmaneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. Krishna says to Arjun, you have the right to the actions only, not to the fruits. Do not be driven by the results, and that should not make you drawn to inaction also. So he said three things here in this verse, all three very important. Right to actions, our duty. Not to what happens, not to the fruits. But that should also not make us feel like I don't want to do it because I don't have any expectations from that action. In Bhagavad Gita, right? We have a right to actions, but not to the fruits. But that should not be the reason that we are drawn to inaction. The doing person. Now, let's do a thought experiment. If I were to take this doing person and metaphorically open it, who will I find sitting inside? Anyone?
Krishna?
Not yet. If I were to open myself up and look inside, who will I find inside of me?
I am personality.
What does that mean? I don't know what it means.
No personality.
Okay.
But there is something.
Okay, let's see what we find then. So this is a doing person, karta, this physical body. If I were to open it up, there is one more person inside of it. I call it the experiencing person. This is the home of our experience. The person inside. Home of our experience, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. It is also the home of ego. The constant awareness that all of us have. I'm Pranav, for example. And this experiencing person also has duality. We have shown two masks here, happy and sad. But that's our inner world, isn't it? This experiencing person is our life. And we experience it through this multitude of dualities. Happy, sad, good, bad, pleasure, pain, love, fear. It's the constant cadence within us. And now in terms of how this experiencing person is seen, this person is only seen to me. This doing person, this Pranav here, is seen by everyone. But this experiencing person, in Sanskrit also called Bhokta, is only seen by me. No one has access to it. It also has a personality. It shapes our view of the world, how we look at the world. It tells our stories, our narratives. It defines what we want and what we seek. It also has a cognitive style, a thinking style, an emotional feeling style, all within this experiencing person. And an interesting thing about this experiencing person is it also changes all the time. Thoughts are changing, feelings are changing. 2.14 Krishna says, these experiences, cold and hot, good and bad, likes and dislikes, they come and go. Sit with them, tolerate them, Arjun. From Gita's perspective, this experiencing person is home of dhyana, mind, and bhakti, love and fear. If you look closely at this dog, dhyana. In Gita, we understand mind through this instrument called antakarna, the inner instrument that we all have. And it's made of the five senses: see, hear, touch, taste, smell. These are like our antennas going out in the world. where we get data. 5 senses. It's made up of mind, thoughts, memory, intellect, discernment, right or wrong, and ego. I mentioned ego, I am Pranav earlier. 5 senses, mind, intellect, memory, ego. This ego is the most important one. It shows up as I'm a doer, I'm a thinker, I'm a feeler, I'm a knower. I'll read some verses on dhyana. 6.5, Krishna says, the mind is one's friend and the mind is one's enemy. Lift yourself by your mind, my friend. Is your mind your friend or is your mind your foe? And Arjun speaks for all of us when he asks Krishna, and he says, 6.34, he says, Krishna, the mind is restless, turbulent, strong, and stubborn. I find it impossible to hold steadily, just as the wind is impossible to hold. Mind, hard to hold. Practice for holding the mind together is meditation, jnana yoga. The other thing that is part of this experiencing person is bhakti. Love, devotion, remembrance, reverence, surrender, love. There's not much to analyze about bhakti. Bhakti just is our personal relationship. And Krishna says it very beautifully, 9.26, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, water, whatever my devotee offers, that immersed in love, I accept from the sincere seeker. We don't have to do any ostentatious rituals to be a lover of Krishna or God. Just small actions that we can offer, small things that we can offer. He says leaf, flower, fruit, whatever. So I said, the experiencing person is the home of dhyana, the home of bhakti, and the home of experience itself. Guna is something that is used in very different, many different ways in Gita. But I find where the idea of guna becomes really real, personal to us, is through this experiencing person. Guna means quality. A constant, like experience is what? A constant flow of energy in our inner system, in our inner body. A constant flow. And where the experiencing person comes alive is through these guna, sattva, rajas, and tamas. It's like our internal heat map for how we are feeling at any moment. Sattva, one that is pure and wholesome. Rajas, marked by action and restlessness. Tamas, ignorance, darkness, not feeling good. At any moment, we'll find a mixture of these three. If we were to analyze our own experience, I find this dashboard, this heat map very useful. Sattvic, Rajasic, or Tamasic, how am I feeling? So this was the story of the experiencing person. The doing person, Karta, seen by all. The experiencing person, bhokta, seen only by me. Now let's do one more thought experiment. Or rather carry our thought experiment further. What if I were to open this experiencing person also? Who will I find sitting inside? Me. If you open the little I in me, who will we find sitting inside? Any guesses? Bingo. So, also in Vedanta called Jivatman. This is soul. We've shown it in bondage and we'll see why. A prisoner, basically. And the flip side of that is a person who's free, enlightened. Now, what is this soul person? This soul person is a unique fingerprint that all of us have, formed over not only this life, but countless many other lives we've had. It is this idea of this entity called Pranav. And this also, as I said, it's unique. It's different from all of us. Everyone has this separate, unique fingerprint. As I like to say, my bags are my bags, your bags are your bags. Makes us different. And the interesting thing about this soul person is, it sits inside of me also, but even I don't have access to it. It is that puppet master that pulls the strings of this experiencing person and this doing person. In modern psychology, a good referent would be subconscious, shadow, gray, mix of white and black. And what is this soul person made up of? This is the hard one. This is where our problems, our unhappiness lie. What is it made up of? Well, first of all, it's made up of what's called, I'll use some Sanskrit terms from Gita directly, karam phal. We talked about action earlier, karma. But karma has two parts to it. That chart over there, karma, causation, cause and effect. So this is the cause, this doing person. The effect, the fruit of that action, how we have felt, the consequence of that action is felt in this soul person. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is a one-player game. We are not worried about the effects or action outside. What the consequence and that effect of those actions were inside. Karam phala, fruits of our action. Here, in the soul person. And that karam phala leaves a samskara, a karmic impression, kind of how we internalize that action. And that samskara, karmic impression, then becomes this bondage. Karmic bondage or karam bandhan. Karam phala, samskaras, bondage. And from that, pap and punya, sin and merit follow. This is the cycle of karma. The soul person is also made up of two more things. It's hard, as I mentioned earlier. It is made of desires. our deepest unmet desires. And it is made up of ignorance, ajnana. What that is, we'll also know soon. But 6 things I've mentioned in this soul person. This is the locus of jnana and karma. It's that chart over there, right at the end of that line over there. Jnana and karma. And it's hard to work with this soul person because I said it sits inside of us, but even I don't have access to it. It can be only inferred through the actions or the thoughts of the experiencing person and the actions of the doing person. So on, so this picture goes, this play goes. Now, this soul person also has a personality. Core beliefs, character, virtues and vices, gifts and traumas. They're all in here, in a seed form, unmanifest form, that show up first in the experiencing person, and then in the doing person, the action follows. And the unique thing about this soul person is it also changes. Much harder to change because it's inaccessible, but that is the work. If we want to think about why we do the same things over and over again, repeated patterns of thought, speech, and action, it's coming from this subconscious, this soul person. And this soul person is the reason why we're born again and again. To work out those desires, to work out those karmas again and again. There's a very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. It talks about this nature of birth and death. And he says, just as a man discards worn out clothes and puts on new ones, so does this Jivatma discard a worn out body and puts on new clothes. The good and the not so good within us will travel with us. That is the theory. Law of karma. The 6 things that this soul person is made up of. First is karma, the consequence. This is action, doing person, and this is consequence. Karma. Karma is karam-phala, fruits of action. From that, we have a karmic fingerprint, karmic impressions, and the karmic impressions hold us hostage to karma, repeated actions and behaviors. And from that comes action that becomes sin and merit, pap and punya. This is the karmic wheel. And then, why this game though? Why this karmic wheel? That brings us to the other half of the soul person, which is jnana, desires. We have unmet desires. This life, previous lives. And that's what we are trying to fulfill. And why these desires? Because we have a special kind of ignorance. And the special kind of ignorance is that we've forgotten who we are. And that's what we will come to now. So we've done 3 dolls right now. The doing person, Karta, Arjun, Pranav, everyone here. I open myself up and there is another person sitting inside. I call that the experiencing person, Bhokta. Seen only to me. Inside of that experiencing person is another person sitting inside the soul person. Jivatma. Not seen to me also. Hard to work with. Can only infer what it's doing repeatedly through the experiencing person, the doing person. I'll pause here, invite you for reflections, questions.
So you said karma is supposed to be done by us. That is the teaching, right? Now we have a choice of doing many karmas are there to be done, right? We can do many sorts of karma. Broadly through good karma and bad karma, so we go for good karma. Now in good karma, when there are many choices, I am in a situation where I have many choices to pick. How do you choose the karma that you? Because that's a curiosity of mine.
Yeah. So a simple answer is duty. If that action fulfills your duty, you should do it. That is absolutely mandatory to do. Too many times we are more focused on actions that are not necessarily our duty also. What our duty is, that will be very personal to every one of us, depending on where we are in our lives, where we are students, whether we are young adults or we're older. But a good frame for understanding out of a whole menu of actions we have to do is pick the one that is your duty towards your own self, towards your family, to society in general, dharma. He says twice in Gita, Krishna, better to do your own dharma than someone else's dharma. So there is an analysis required into understanding what our dharma is, what is the right action for us, where we are in our lives. This is an answer. It's a very deep topic in itself. Dharma, it's a separate session itself also. He says 3 kinds of actions. Good action, as you said, bad action, and the third one is no action. And in Gita's framework, no action is abandonment of dharma. And that is what Arjun is about to do, run away.
So, when in my past lecture, I had done a lot of action, sort of to reorganize. I was in an inaction mode, let's say, with meditation or without meditation, in an inaction mode. In my mind, I thought of it as, stabilizing me before taking action. So, is that wrong?
I don't know your particular situation in that time, but meditation done well is good action.
And inaction?
Inaction is a dereliction of duty, abandonment of duty. What we should be doing, we don't do, we do something else. I'm a family man, for example. So there are certain duties that come with being a family man. Taking care of the household, financial situation, providing for the kids, those kind of duties that are for me at this stage in my life. And your duties change along your life cycle, isn't it? So dharma changes, duty changes.
So initially you mentioned about karmanyavadikaraste mapadashikadachi. Will it be fair enough for us to wish something like we have expectations in few parts of our life and we don't have expectations in other parts where we are scared that we be hurt on keeping expectations, and in other part of the life that having expectations drives us to work more hard and achieve success or whatever we. Will it be fair enough to have both of it inside us at the same time?
We are humans. It's very easy for me to say, Krishna says, have no expectations. And that is the highest practice of karma. But what we have to be mindful is how much investment we have made in those expectations. Action and expectation go hand in hand. If we are doing whatever our goal is with a full intention, a full will, our best, then even if there is try to keep your expectations as low as possible. Because we are not in control of everything. What the result of that action will be, that is unknown. We can do our bit. There could be outside circumstances that will inevitably, the unknown, there's always an unknown in every action. And the more we hold on to that action, control it, and have expectations, then the more we are setting ourselves up for failure. The idea is to do the action like this. This is letting go. And the more we keep this fist open, the easier the action will feel. And that is the practice.
So how do you feel like more deeply connected towards yourself and feel more grounded in optimism? Like even it gets really difficult or suffocating the time. So how do you practice that?
So the short answer will be the 4 yogas I'm talking about. I'm not trying to take a evasive answer here, but throughout this presentation, the end part when we come, that's when I think it'll become more concrete. But the path of Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads is that of self-inquiry. Who am I and all those questions I'm talking about. For example, a lot of times our unhappiness might be coming from not understanding what our desires are really. Not enough work has been done on what my desires are and what my fears are. And a good way to do that would be time to night. Like there are all these techniques people use: journaling, writing, connecting with themselves more, either through yoga or through just taking solitary time off. But too many times we don't do this self-care, or we don't know how to even understand ourselves. We can go to a therapist and say, lie down on a couch and tell me how you're feeling. I mean, it helps, but a deeper introspection is what is called for here. And the easiest way to do that, in fact, would be Karma Yoga. Go to a mandir, go to a gurdwara, wash the dishes there. Whatever easy is it for us to take the focus out of us, our own ego, our own inner world, and do something for someone else. I found this to be the quickest way to get out of this mental logjam that we can get into, Karma Yoga. In fact, Karma Yoga is the first practice in Bhagavad Gita. Selfless service. Start there. Easiest also. Nothing big to do, like go learn meditation technique. Certainly find love for God, let's say. None of that. Go help someone in need. Automatically you feel good about yourself. Your own problems will seem a little smaller.
Actually, I have one question. So how do you feel more connected to the world without being attached?
All the difficult questions are coming right up front, huh? What we'll do is we'll take one, then we'll move on, and then we'll leave the time in the end for more questions. Yeah. This path that we talked about, letting go of expectations, that's a form of detachment. In meditation, we sit down, we analyze our thoughts, and we try to go beyond the thoughts. In that case, a good technique would be just be a witness to those thoughts. Detach yourself from that. Separate yourself. Bhakti. I like to call it a psychological trick to get out of your own head. Love someone else other than you. Detachment. So all these yogas, we can really think about a way to like just disconnect ourselves from what our current situation might be. Make sense? And then the other dharmas can be like obviously to society, obviously to family, immediate family, extended family, society. Because we just didn't land up here from vacuum and then everything we are doing on our own. This journey of life is always give and take. Krishna will say, give more and more and more, take less and less and less. That is one way to pay off those debts without actions, without duties. Yeah? Okay, we'll hold the questions for a moment, a little longer, and then we'll go. We'll come back to them, as I said. So 3 bodies we did. The doing person, this person, sitting inside, experiencing person, only I can see. Third is the soul person, Jivatman, that even I cannot see. The one in bondage. Energy God. Energy is an experiencing person. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. God. Yes, but if you mean Krishna, then not Krishna. Well, yes, Krishna, but there's a little bit more to that than just Krishna. Light. Yes. You want to say something, sir?
I was going to guess the Sakshi.
Sakshi. The witness. Yes. Consciousness. Atman. Pure consciousness. Chitta. The one. The one that is same in all of us. The witness. The pure subject that is watching the play of these 3 bodies. We have a lot of lamps here and other electric devices, and a usual metaphor. And Krishna says that in chapter 10, it is the light of all lights, this consciousness, the Om. It's the light of all lights. Electricity. One electricity running through this whole area here that is powering up all these lamps, powering up the sound system, laptops, everything. Just one. With all its different manifestations. Devices. Like any device into that electricity, it does its thing, what it's programmed to do. So this is the one, the same in all of us, that makes us the same, one. But we forget that. We forget that, and then we run confused in these 3 bodies. This is the real answer to who am I, consciousness. I'm sure it raises more questions now. But this is the Atman, also called Paramatma. So while this was the Jivatma, the conditioned self. This is consciousness, the unconditioned self. It's non-dual, one. And it's also not manifest, it's not seen, it's beyond our mind. Our mind is here in the experiencing person. It is also beyond this unmanifest soul, Jivatma. It's a consciousness even before that. The one that gives us sentience. I am. I am Arjun. I am Krishna. I am Pranav. What is the common between these three sentences? I am Krishna, I am Arjun, I am Pranav. I am. This is I am. मैं हूं. Chetan. Consciousness. Unlike these three bodies that keep on changing all the time, this one does not change. It is changeless, eternal, unborn, undying, imperishable. Within space, time, and karma. These three bodies are within space, time, and karma. This is beyond that. This one runs within space, time, and karma, within all of us, all the time. Immanent within us. From Gita's perspective, this is the answer to who we are. The one, this is knowledge. I was mentioning ignorance earlier, a special kind of ignorance. That special kind of ignorance is ajnana, that is that we've forgotten that we are these spiritual beings. My Swami likes to say, we think we are humans having a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience. This is the one that makes us one, connected. And we forget that. From that comes all these, the infinite, so as to speak. This infinite consciousness has somehow become limited in these three bodies. And from that, desires come. Good, bad, whatever. Desires come. I'm not fulfilled. I'm limited. I need something else to feel complete. And then the play goes on. Avidya, ignorance, calm, desires, karma, action. Avidya, calm, karma. Ignorance, desires, and karma. That is a cycle. Ignorance, that we've forgotten that this is Om, consciousness. And this is also the home of moksha, freedom. And freedom not like at some hypothetical time after the death. Gita's way is moksha now. I want freedom as soon as possible. Because lack of freedom makes us smaller, limited. I'll just read some verses. Krishna says, 13.23, the witness, the experiencer, it is called the supreme Atman. And then 2.20 is a very famous verse too. It says, never is born, never it dies, unborn, eternal, imperishable, it is without beginning. That is Atman. Then he says, the illusion, the separateness. We are all different, but we are all the same. This Atman, which is undivided, infinite, appears to be divided in all of these bodies here. Consciousness. Who is the enlightened one person that we mentioned earlier? This person. This person sees the one in all and all in one. I'm in everyone and everyone is in me, made up of the same consciousness, appearing in all of these different matter bodies. Moksha. Knowing that is the real answer to who am I. That is knowledge. So what we found was this Arjun in this doing person is actually a lot more complicated entity. There's one person, experiencing person sitting inside, then there is a soul person, and then there's finally the consciousness. The consciousness is who we are. If it has raised more questions than answers, then that's a good thing. And to get to this is what liberation feels like, when there's no separation between us and everyone else. I feel bad when somebody else is hurt. My happiness is in other people's happiness is in me. Atman consciousness. So, this is our Arjun. Atman, the being person that sits inside the soul person, Jivatma, that sits inside another person, the experiencing person, who sits inside this physical body, the doing person. This is our friend Arjun. All of us. I'll add one more point here. The difference between, say, Indic spirituality and science. Science says matter first, consciousness later. So, whatever our neural pathways are, and then there's chemicals firing inside of our brain, that give us this awareness, and that's called consciousness. Indic spirituality doesn't call that consciousness. It just calls it awareness, just conditioned awareness. Gita says, Upanishad says, it's consciousness first and matter next. You're asking the question about Purusha, right? That Purusha is consciousness. We say, consciousness sits in the matter. Consciousness first, matter follows. It's Purusha. In fact, Purusha in Sanskrit or even in Hindi means person. So the 4 dolls I've shown to you, they're all Purushas. But there is the highest Purusha among them, which was the Atman, consciousness. This is also Purusha, but this Purusha is mixed in with matter. I said 5 elements. The experiencing person, that's also Purusha. That's mixed in with other kind of matter, which is mind, thoughts, and emotions, and ego, and all of those things. But there is the highest Purusha, Atman, the being person, I call it.
I've heard from several sources that if we want to truly know this rahasya, this open secret, and realize a self that Brahman Maharishi or one of the Shankara or something like that, they say we have to find, this is what I heard, I don't know, or I want to get your opinion on. You have to find a jnani, like an actual Brahmanishta, as opposed to hear this live. Like it has to be someone like Adi Shankara himself, or Ramana Maharishi, or Jesus, Buddha, any one of those great saints. You feel like this is correct? Is this important?
I would agree with that, because Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishadic tradition is a tradition that is based on a teacher and a student. the eligibility of teacher is very high. Krishna or Ramana or Sri Ramakrishna. That is a true teacher. And sometimes it can take a long time to figure out like who our heart goes out to, what kind of guru it goes out to. And that is the process of seeking. Everybody's temperament is different. And today, fortunately, we have a lot of amazing teachers and there's a lot of content online. Like, I learned through my teachers only. And then there's this second part to it, which is like your own hard work, our own seeking, our own figuring out. The teacher will show us the way, but the doing has to be done by us. It's always good to find a teacher that is authentic, and usually takes a long time, because this whole mart of spirituality is full with a lot of teachers. Some less genuine than the others. But yes, teacher helps a lot.
Sorry. To this question, I have a reference again from Advaita Vedanta from Ramakrishna. The story of Avadhuta, who had 24 upagurus. Okay. Can I just read? I mean, this is a small 2 pages, but I'm just gonna.
No, I would like you to hold on to that. 2 pages will lead towards the end.
Yes, I'm not gonna read the 2 pages. Can I read one sentence?
Yes.
Sentence.
Yes.
The guru is only one, but upagurus, secondary gurus, may be many. He is an upaguru from whom anything whatsoever is learned. It is mentioned in the Bhagavata that the great Avadhuta, advanced yogi, had 24 such upagurus.
So Sri Ramakrishna says, Satchidanand is the ultimate guru. The consciousness is the real guru. We can also mean it to be that we are our own gurus too. The pure consciousness in us. And the real teachers, as you were saying, would have known that. They are self-realized, so they are eligible to now teach. They are a form of Satchidanand only. And then, we also have upagurus, or secondary teachers that we can always learn from. So the Vedantic tradition, the Upanishadic tradition, the Gita tradition is a tradition that is based on a student and a teacher.
Our life is about karma phalas. The experience we have in life are karma phala. Then are the people who we meet in our life at different stages, are their karma phalas too?
We can answer it both ways, right? Some may say our destiny is manifest, it's already written. At the heart, the question you're asking is that of not that question, but this idea of free will. We meet anyone, is it by chance, destiny, or we did something special to meet that person? And usually the answer is both. Without action, those things, even if they were presented to us, will not be able to work with them. Even if good people came in our life, if we're not ready for those good people, we'll not recognize them. The good ones and not so good ones. If we are tuned into it. If we are intentional about it. If we're sleepwalking through life and all, then whoever we meet, whoever we don't meet, doesn't even make sense. So the important thing is to be intentional about it. And that is the free will we have.
So the purpose of the entire night becomes to realize that we are conscious.
That is the highest goal of spirituality, Bhagavad Gita. But we can use the same lens for any other goal we have in life, no? Smaller goals, we all have smaller goals in life too. Ultimately, those smaller goals will lead us to the highest goal only. We cannot, there were 4 bodies, we cannot just jump from the doing person to the Atman. Right? And you are a student, let's say, and there is a big exam, that is the goal in that moment. The same technique of Bhakti, Jnana, and Karma is going to be applicable for the smaller actions also, goals also. So Gita's framework, yes, that is the true subject of the text, knowing who we really are. But the same practices will be useful to us in every goal we have in life, small or big. How to raise a family, how to find a job or meaningful work that is in alignment with what our sabhava or our nature is. How to find love.
So, but I find people who read and they check like Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, but they're not able to get over their habits, let's say, or patterns, and that is the struggle that I see because they keep even me. Let's say, I consider myself in the same place. I have not read the Bhagavad Gita, but we repeat the same pattern, and even after certain realization that we have had that we are in repeating certain pattern, and that's why we are ending up in certain situation. How do we free ourselves from that pattern?
Right. And I will read a verse, and it will always come back to the soul person. Because before that algorithm has been executed, like doing and repeated action, the algorithm always starts with the subconscious, the unseen within us, the puppet master I called earlier that's pulling at our strings all the time. Knowing the nature of that, Arjun asks 3.36, a very famous verse that speaks to these patterns that we have of making the same mistakes again and again. Arjun says, Krishna, under what impulse does a person commit this wrong and this sin, these mistakes? As if unwillingly, as if forced by some power. I don't have a control over it. Why do I keep doing the same things over and over again? The short answer to it in the very next verse, Krishna says, it is selfish desire. Not desire in general, but selfish desire. We want something for ourselves. That doesn't mean don't go do a job and pay the bills and all. Those are not selfish desires. Those are the desires that are more in alignment with our dharma. So the two kinds of desires, basically, I'm going a little bit off topic, but there is a desire that is needed for us to function in this world. Pay the bills, for example. And then there's this other desires which we have, like bundle of desires and fears we all are. And that is the analysis we have to do. And those desires, as I said, come from unmet needs.
If there are unmet needs, I think it's not so evident, probably. So if it is not so evident, first of all, how to make it evident or find about it, and if that desire, I don't know if all desires are good, but some desires can be good and bad. So if it is unmet, is it to be met, or Just to know is enough.
Right. So I like to think that the fundamental desires that all of us as humans have, no? Fundamental desire is that of safety and belonging. And that is where we start off with. Belonging is about love. Safety, like, we are mammalian brains, evolved from reptiles. So reptiles work on fear. Evolution, we became mammals. We got love inside of us. Safety is that reptilian brain in us that wants to feel secure. Love is the mammalian part of us that wants to connect. The desires itself is a very deep topic in itself. A lot of times I used to struggle with that question, like, what do you mean to not have no desires? How can I even function? Here that other thing comes with desires that are in alignment with our dharma or duty. Those are allowed. But when I start abrogating things for myself, selfishly, I want more money. I want more of something else. Fame or power or whatever it is. I want to own things for myself. And myself only. That is when we get into trouble. Yeah?
So about the patterns come in variety of forms.
Let me repeat this. This is a very important question you're asking. So the cycle is avidya, kam, karma. Ignorance leads to desires. The desire leads to action. The action has a fruit of an action that goes back into the karmic person. Desires come from not feeling complete in ourselves, whatever that unmet need is. To fulfill that need, we go out looking at the world, let's say. And then, depending on how we approach that need in the world, selfishly or unselfishly, the feedback loop will come back to us. So in that sense, it's a cycle that this is the algorithm where all of us are running this general algorithm with nuances for each one of us, but that's the general algorithm. The subconscious is what's pulling our strings all the time. Those desires and wanting to fulfill them at every single. Why? Why those desires? Well, there's a different question altogether. I want to carry on. Actually, we'll have plenty of time towards the end, but I'll just kind of like, okay, maybe these two, and then we'll carry on. Then we'll hold off the questions for later.
The question is, how do you keep calm while there is the trouble or we stuff going around you?
Come back to the same answer. Where do we feel disquiet? The experiencing person.
While doing meditation, going to get out, enjoying the breeze, or just, writing it down, talking with your friend.
Yes. Basically getting out of our own head, no? That is the quickest way to do it.
Escaping our own head to, lead the chaos?
No, not like that. The chaos is inside of us, no? So how do we disconnect from that chaos? Meditation is one.
Why not thinking about it?
Well, that's not possible all the time, no? Because the karmic software will load on its own. So, what is the selfless thing that we can do for others? That is one way to do it. And the therapies also. I look at these 4 parts of yoga as therapies only. But there's no shortcut here. If you're looking for a shortcut, There are no shortcuts here. Arjun, when he asks, is my mind is restless and I cannot hold it, what do? Krishna says, yeah, there's no shortcut. There's only practice. We all got to find out the routine that works for us. Here.
Yeah, so maybe it would be 2 or 3 questions, but it is all interlinked.
Hold on to that. I want to just finish it. Unless you really want to. But I can just take one for now.
Okay.
I'm running out of like this time and all that
I
sort.
understand. So, okay, I will.
What does this mean specifically when people say tap into your subconscious and everything will be fine?
By definition, we cannot tap into our subconscious. We can only infer it through our experiencing person and our actions to a doing person. We can, there are like some, I don't know, I want to use those words, but like some medicines and people do all kinds of experiments to tap into subconscious. And that does give us information. But in a normal course of life, it's not possible to tap into subconscious because by definition, it is beyond our mind. Normal awareness I'm talking about. Hold on to your other 2 questions. Okay, now the fun begins. This was the psychology. Knowing, going within ourselves. Knowing what is inside of us, how we feel certain way. But this Arjun, he does not exist in a vacuum. He's sitting inside of another doll. What could that doll be? Yes, Maya. The world. Maya. All of us, Arjuns, Pranavs, sitting inside another big ball, the Maya person. All of us. This Maya is a hard one. Because our conflicts seem to happen with Maya, the world outside. People we know, jobs, relationships. The world outside is where the conflict is. Arjun had this conflict too. I want to run away. I don't want to fight this world outside. So all of us are sitting inside of another doll called Maya. This one here, a very hard doll to work with. Commonly, it is the world. Mythologically, Maya also means Devi, Shakti, Mahamaya. Philosophically, it has all these cool names: illusion, projection, matrix. But the one expression I like is Maya is something that is not real, but appears real. I threw a lot in there. Not real, but appears real. Our thoughts, for example, they're changing all the time. What problem we had yesterday is not the same problem we have today. Changing. So was that real yesterday? Is it that real today? No. Maya. On this doll, we show there will be 4 faces of Maya. First of all, there is the creator god of Bhagavad Gita is Brahma. He is the one that Vishnu or Krishna summons up. Vishnu summons up to create this world. This Maya also has his 4 facets here. One is a tree, the cosmic tree of life. Chapter 15, Krishna describes, I'll read this, it's a very beautiful verse. I would encourage you to read 15.1 to 15.6 when you have the time. I'll just read 15.1. First, let's do 7.14. Krishna says about Maya being hard. He says, divine is this manifestation of Maya. My Maya is hard to cross. And then on this tree of life, upside down tree of life. He describes this tree in a very poetic, metaphorical way. And he says, for this tree, its roots go up and its branches go down. Strange tree. Roots are up, branches are down. The Vedic hymns, its leaves, they speak of this imperishable people tree, Ashwath tree, the one that doesn't die easily. Those who know of that tree truly know the Vedas, that they truly know the other realized ones. So this is the upside down tree of life or down tree of Maya, which everywhere, everything feels upside down. There's another facet of this Maya, which is the cosmos here, the world outside, this world that we talked about. A third facet of this Maya face is the society we live in. Basically, anyone that is not me is Maya from my perspective. All the society, all the people I know, family, it's all Maya. Philosophy is a little harder to digest. Spiritually, anyone who is not me is Maya. And finally, the fourth facet of Maya is another philosophical part, how the space-time and karma. We'll come to that in a second. Because Maya is in itself a topic on its own, a whole session on its own. Many questions come out of Maya. Why Maya? Who created this Maya? What is this Maya made up of? And most importantly, how do we experience Maya? The last one is where we actually feel the Maya through three things: duality, separation between us and everyone else. We feel they're others. Second way we feel Maya is through this idea of transience. Things are changing all the time. Change. That is Maya. A third way we experience Maya is what you said earlier, through repeated cycles, patterns, conditioning. So, Maya is a very in-depth topic on its own. I'll just list down what the layer of Maya is and how it really expresses itself. Now, taking a thought experiment further, what is Maya sitting inside of? God. Krishna, the God person. Chapter 11, very famous verse, chapter Vishwarup Darshan Yoga, in which Krishna shows the entire Maya inside of his own body, which is this one here. But Krishna has a very beautiful character arc in whole of Gita. I'll read some verses that will sketch out who Krishna of Bhagavad Gita is. In Mahabharata, first of all, so in Mahabharata, Krishna is Arjun's friend, and then he becomes his charioteer. I mentioned earlier, like the famous sequence where he tells Arjun, "Take me to the middle of the battleground. I want to see who I'm fighting." That is a charioteer. Then he becomes his teacher when Arjun breaks down, and he says, "I surrender to you. You are my teacher. Tell me what I should do." Third role. The fourth role is as an avatara. He shows Arjun that he's actually an avatar. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. That is the famous verse. Fifth role that Krishna has in Bhagavad Gita is that of a creator God who projects Maya. Fifth is the creation, the God in creation, chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Arjun asks Krishna, tell me how I should remember you while I'm, in all my sentiments and my own emotions. That is God in Maya. Finally, then Arjun also asks, show me their Godhead. How do I see the creation in God? That is the seventh role, the creation in God. Arjun innocently asks, "Oh Krishna, I wish to see your majestic cosmic form." That's when he unveils this cosmic form that is behind me also. And finally, the Krishna of Gita shows himself as Brahman, the formless God. So this whole arc, friend, charioteer, teacher, avatar, creator of this God, in all of this Maya and Maya inside of him, he finally says, I am the form of the formless Brahman, of Aham Brahmasmi fame. Not the Brahma, the God, Brahman. He says, Brahman is my ground of the immortal and the imperishable, of the eternal dharma of peace and of the absolute. So there is another God beyond Krishna. While Krishna is the God with form, there is one more big doll, the formless God. While this is the God with form, in which we've endowed all these qualities like omnipresent, omni-knowing, all merciful, this is one, Advaita, non-dual. The formless God, the seventh doll. Again, Om is its symbol. Pure existence, Sat. While the last doll was Chit, consciousness, same doll, smallest of the small, Atman. This is Brahman, Sat, existence, the isness principle. This chair is, this mat is, that couch is existence itself. Sat. Also non-dual. One. Om. Pure subject, pure experiencer. Beyond space, time and karma. Kal, Desh, Nimit. And it is changeless. Eternal, undying, again, same as Atman. So if it is all one, how did this all become seven? We're talking about Advaita here. This is one, existence. From that comes out the God person. From the God person comes out the Maya person, the world. From the Maya person comes the doing person, all the doing persons in the world. From the doing persons come the experiencing person. The soul person. Finally, Atman. Consciousness. We were promised one, we have seven. Existence on one side, consciousness on the other side. And they're all within each other. But Upanishads say, I'll just read a couple of Mahavakyas. There are 4 Mahavakyas. The pithy sayings from Upanishads. One is, consciousness is Brahman. Prajnanam Brahman. Prajnanam Brahm. Aitari Upanishad. I am Atma Brahma. The self itself is Brahman. I am Atma Brahma. So, what gives? They are enlisted, but is there any other shape we can imagine? This is one and this is one. That's the illusion. Ananda. While they are on the other end, Advaita says they're one. So the only way that would be one is when they're sitting next to each other. And that's how we get the circle of bliss, Ananda. Sat, Chit, Ananda. This is yoga. This is balance, alignment, harmony. Where the inside of us is the same as the outside of us. Tat, Tvam, Asi, Aham, Brahmasmi. Connection, peace, love, belonging. This is the path of yoga. Through karma, through dhyana, through bhakti, we find that alignment. Where we don't feel disconnected or different from others. Gita shows us how. This is Sanatan Dharma. This is the Song of $7. This is what oneness feels like, which appears as distinct to these $7. Thank you. The Song of $7. Thank you. Brahman, the being person. Krishna, the form of the formless, the God person. Inside Krishna is Maya. I call this the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. This is outside of us. Arjun, all of us, starting here with us, and now we go inside of us. The experiencing person, the soul person, and Atman consciousness. I call it the psychology of Bhagavad Gita. Experiential in nature. Philosophy inferential in nature. Advaita, one, coming together. The Song of $7. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Now we can go as long as we want. Questions, I hope this made sense.
So, since we are one with ultimately we are one with consciousness, the thing we are doing here, like as humans in this world, as you said, Sat, Chit, and Anand, right? So the purpose of being here is to be in Anand.
Find that balance where the disconnect between us and the disconnect that we feel towards the world somehow isn't there. And how do we do that? Because the disconnect comes when we feel we are separate from someone else.
Hmm.
But if I can find my happiness in your happiness, then we are not separate, no?
But then there is confusion again, because if we find happiness in someone else's happiness, we are also overlooking our own happiness. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Because
Well, not necessarily yes, but the you know that famous prayer we have, Loka samasta sukhino bhavanti. We are not out there asking other people if they're happy, right? What we show to the world is our own happiness ultimately. Our inner happiness or our inner sadness will only come out. So, this beautiful philosophy of oneness that is laid out is for us to reflect back and say, perhaps what makes us disconnected may not be the complete picture. It feels not very true right now in this moment. But we look at these 5 dolls, these 4 dolls that we have here, the Maya and the 3 persons inside of us, introduced doing person. That's where we'll find a discontent. And I'm not saying, see, as I said, my bags are my bags, your bags are your bags. That's not to minimize some severe traumas or incidents that might have happened to us in our lives. And there are many other, there are many ways, therapies that we can work with ourselves. But ultimately, the goal is to find that inner harmony within us and outside. Otherwise, it'll always be two.
yes, but there is more. When you say that we have to find the harmony inside, I think as easy as it is to say, even with the duties that I mean, I think of my own experiences while I say this, that uh, duties do feel right, but sometimes it might also take happiness out of it. So then the harmony is taken out. So and I see that very common. It's not be. I see that very common, because whoever comes to seek uh, comes with the same problem, more or less. Then they have done all sorts of things for equal in their lives, but they ended up feeling like I ease. So how do I connect these two?
Yeah, I mean, it is a very common thing. The nature of this Maya is that only. And the more we unintentionally work with Maya, the more in a trap we'll get into. What do I mean by that? Usually, when we do something for someone, we're expecting something in return back, right? Usually. And then we find that, oh, this person did not stand up to our expectations. I did this thing for him, and now look at him. That's source of unhappiness. Happens all the time. Even in personal relations happens. And it'll all come down to the idea of like when you're doing good to someone else, spiritualizing action means we drop that expectation. I did my duty right now. I start work at 9, I work till 6 to put food on the table. That is my duty. I don't expect anything after that. That is the practice. And duties, like look at our friend Arjun only, no? His duty was to fight the war. The duty felt very heavy to him in that moment. Sri Ramakrishna says, the path of a person living in the world is actually harder than the path of a sannyasi who's going. In fact, Arjun, 3 times in Bhagavad Gita, asks the same question again and again. This conflict between duty, dharma, action, and my spiritual nature, knowledge. He says, if you want to, chapter 3 starts like this. He says, you want me to become Atman, seek my spiritual self, but then why are you asking me to do all this killing, path of action? Why can't I just directly go from here to here? Duty is feeling heavy for me here. Let me abandon it, just focus here only, no? There's this common expression, spiritual bypassing and all. Right? But you cannot go directly from here to here. You have to go through these 2 bodies also. 5th chapter, again he asks the same question. There's a conflict between being and doing. 18th chapter, 1st verse, 3rd time he asks, tell me about the path of karma and the path of knowledge. Path of karma is the path of duty. Path of knowledge is the spiritual journey. That is the true knowledge that Upanishads and Gita talk about. So it is a very nuanced question, and Gita acknowledges that 3 times. 3.1, 5.1, 18.1. And Arjun's struggles are our struggles too. Best is do your duty even if it is imperfect. My spouse complains, all right, I did my best. A lot of this harmony that I talk about is something that we first find within ourselves and working with other people also. But we cannot control other people. We can just be lucky about it. Among these 7 dolls, there are only 2 we control. The doing person and the experiencing person. God, we cannot do anything about the world. The subconscious is inaccessible to me. Atman and consciousness, yes, I intellectually understand it, but I'm not there yet. And that is the path of yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. So there's no easy way around going from here to here. I hope that makes more sense.
One final question from your side. So, while experiencing the world, we inevitable emotions that are along with the karma that we do, duties that we do. So, when we are experiencing the emotion along the paths, it feels as real as it can be, right? So if we're even after we're aware about the theory part of it, while experiencing theory is far away from
Yes.
us, right? So uh, what my curiosity is how to you know be connected to the theory or the reality and not getting entangled again and again with the same emotional or the suffering that we feel, or even let's say pleasure is the part of it.
Yeah.
Here is attached to because again we are when we are experiencing pleasure or suffering, then moving away from the real nature of that is.
Yes. Yes. Krishna says to Arjun about this path of genuine seeking, genuine struggle. Arjun only reached that to a point when he had this big mental breakdown. Now I don't know what's happening anymore. But these questions always follow us wherever we go. Krishna says only 1 in 1,000 people take up this path. So good thing is first you have the questions. You guys are all here sitting through this session. So you're already on that path. You have these questions. But there is no quick fix. I mentioned earlier 2.14. The experiences, good and bad, hot and cold, pleasure and pain, they come and go. Krishna has only one advice: tolerate them. Tolerate them. Sit with them. And then see what you can do with your doing person. See what you can do with your experiencing person. That is the way. The way is the way of practice. Repeated practice will make mistakes. Don't worry. There's always the next moment. Again and again he says to Arjun, find the will. Find the will within yourself. Do not give up. A lot of times the circumstances can be too heavy for us. A lot of times, we didn't ask for those things. Chapter 2, when he's asking him to lift himself up, I forget the verse number, but it's somewhere around 2.35 or something like that. He says, the circumstances, the unasked, unsought circumstances that we did not actively seek, but we're given those situations, they create an opportunity for us. So life will go on, things will happen. Things that sometimes we will do things, sometimes things will be done to us. But where are we seeking comfort in those moments? The answer is not going to be out there. In this one player game, the answer is always going to be within. People did us wrong, you can hold on to it. Forgiveness is a very powerful tool. Bhakti. That is true form of practical bhakti. I forgive you. You're not different from me. Gratitude. Very powerful form of sitting with and tolerating. A lot of times we get overwhelmed because we have a checklist of things saying that I didn't have this, I didn't get this, I didn't get this, I didn't get this. Did we make another checklist also? What we have? Humans are wired very strangely. 99.9% things will be working okay in our system. Just a little pinprick, no? Ouch. It hurts. Count your blessings. Tolerate them, count your blessings, see other sort of like forgive people, do selfless service, sit with yourself time again, go out there in the nature. This is a path of going inwards. No quick solutions here. You have
Questions 3.
Yeah, so I think continuing to that question first, Dory, is it like we as humans get revert very fast with sadness, we need very easily than with happiness, something like makes us into pain. Like why only we are triggered by sadness so quickly? It shoots high, but happiness it takes time.
Yeah. I don't know the real answer for why, but that is the wiring inside of us. I said 99.9% things might be working fine. It's all from here. Why do we feel hurt or pain or suffering? Usually, I need something else or something I did not work. It's what Swami Vivekananda would call, there was this infinite person that you really are, which does not have any suffering. There are no problems here. The problems are here. This infinite has become finite, thinking that he needs something else from the world outside or wherever. Not to minimize our suffering at all. But in this post-COVID world we are living through, an upcoming AI world will be living through, these questions of humanity and AI will now, machines and humans will now become even a more important question. We are very complicated beings. We don't give ourselves enough credit for that.
Okay, so the question that I had, Mahila, taking the connectors.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a connection that I'm trying to understand, like how it is told that we have a conscious and a subconscious mind. Uh, the figures they vary. Some people say 96% conscious and 96% subconscious and 4% conscious. It keeps varying from person to person, and the experiments that had come across, what we keep seeing the picture, the submerged iceberg and a little peak. How do we connect the sheets, like conscious and the subconscious?
See, there is a world within us that we don't know. I know the picture you're mentioning of that iceberg and all. At any given point in time, no, we'll be able to experience a small sliver of that through what is presented to us. As we go through life, we learn more and more about our situation. We'll actually find that this sole person who feels like smaller than these two other bodies is where the hidden seed is. Whatever we've done this life and previous life is all seated in here in a karmic encrypted file. It just comes up when something else is presented to us. We are not people who just born in this life. Hinduism will say we're ancient beings. We're carrying all those seeds from previous lives. Different points in time, different seeds will flower. Okay, more, just maybe 2 or 3 max. I go on.
First of all, thank you for this amazing work that you're doing. I'm very happy to see this kind of formalism that the rigor is very interesting. I also appreciate the patience that which you're conducting, the way in which you are bringing reflection in a way, right? But thank you for that. So, one of the interesting things that I observed in your interpretation of Satchir and honor, right? So, you did certain actions. We said that, okay, there is the, going back the Paris name for the dawns, there is the chip, and then there is the right? So, we were essentially pointing towards how these two aspects, right? The the existence, the Atman, and then there is the awareness, and your conscious. So, how these two elements are fundamentally connected through Anand, that you said like Anand, right? Like you did that action. So, I'm just curious to know how you arrived on that action. Like, what do you say that?
That action itself, I don't know. That's just my way of drawing a circle.
Like, the psychical connection.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what happened. I was really, sitting with the first 4 dolls came to me first. The Arjun dolls came to me first. And that is the framework that is from the Mandukya Upanishad. If anyone has heard of Mandukya Upanishad, so this would be the gross body or the sthul sharira. This would be the subtle body or the sukshma sharira. And this would be the karan sharira or the soul person. And then this is be the consciousness, turiya. Shall I spill the beans? So I was sitting with these 4, and that's what I learned from Mandukya, and it just didn't feel complete to me at that moment. And I had 7 dolls. And I was thinking, how can I use the other 3 dolls? So I've been struggling with this for many years, this problem to reinterpret the text, the philosophy. Too many times we get caught in the words, terminology, and not knowing where each idea, each concept, each teaching sits. And I was just like playing with it, and I said, okay, this is Maya person who sits in God person, and magically there's a 7th one too. Now the second question became, why? Okay, wow, this is 7 now. And I believe that all of the world's philosophy and all of the world's psychology can be fit into these 7 dolls. The points of difference between all the other traditions would simply be where they say, oh, we don't agree with your idea of this ultimate reality. Buddhism would say it's Shunyam, we will say it's Purnam. But everything, modern, old psychology, philosophy will be in these 7 dolls. That is why Advaita, I believe, is a complete system. And the journey for me was to how to tell this story in a contemporary way. Storytelling, art form, and then the 7 dolls came through. It was my frustration actually writing on this text. I felt there's one more person, where does it end? So I ended up with 7. But then it also didn't feel like a complete story to me. This is one and this is one. Yes, all within each other. What now next? There's one more thing. And there's things like this I've noticed, like, that whole idea that, like, insight sometimes comes in a flash when you work for a really, really long time on a problem. And that is exactly what happened. Oh, wow, they are not really far away. They have to be sitting next to each other. And when they have to be sitting next to each other, yes, So this is why this is such an interesting shape of the reality that Advaita paints for us. Yes, there's an inside and there's an outside, but there's also that coming together in a loop, which is one. Bhagavad Gita is called Song of God. Gita itself means song. So this became Song of Seven Dolls.